Good afternoon. This is solving equations with decimals and fractions in them. We'll start off with decimals. Procedurally, there's no difference between how you solve a math problem with decimals in it or fractions in it and how you solve with whole numbers. The reason we do it as a separate lesson is because there's a couple little tweaks we have to think about. Alright, first of all, you have to line up the decimals when you add or subtract, even if you're using a calculator. It's just kind of one of those spelling, grammar things. You have to line up decimals. Sometimes you're going to get a calculator answer. We do a lot of this on calculator, and you're going to end up needing to round because maybe you get an answer that's really fills the screen, okay? And how do you know how much to round or when to round? Okay, well, first and foremost, follow directions for the assignment you're doing. And this is general because your homework assignment doesn't specifically say, okay? I'm talking about when you're doing any kind of Regents exam, state test, science test. Rounding counts, and you will lose points on any of those high stakes exams for rounding incorrectly. So even if you're doing all the high level math correctly and it's that pesky rounding that you start learning in elementary school that trips you up, you're still going to lose points for that. So follow directions. Also, common sense. If this is a problem, it's about money. I'm sure you've all been in a store and seen a price tag. Price tags have two numbers after the decimal, two place values. If you're doing a problem about how many cups of coffee were sold, well, I don't know many places where you can go in and order 0.37 of a cup of coffee, 37 hundredths of a cup of coffee. Can't do it. So that's something you would round to the nearest whole. So there's some common sense rounding that nobody's going to tell you, but you should know that you're not going to have partials of something. Okay. For the purposes of homework tonight, I'm going to say if your answer has more than 3 decimal places and you don't feel like writing them all out, I would say you could round. And in that case, we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So 1 decimal place. Oh, I meant to highlight. Nearest tenth, okay? Or if you have a decimal that repeats, goes on forever, fills your screen, then you might choose to round to the nearest tenth as well. That's for the purposes of homework tonight. Okay, so as far as doing the math problems, it's really not any different than it was before. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so this is our first sample problem from class. Okay, here's the equal sign. I really encourage you to continue drawing a line down through the equal sign because that really signifies the two sides of the problem. And I'm looking here, this looks like a basic 2-step. I don't see any parentheses, I don't see any like terms. This is a basic 2-step. So the first thing is still to cancel the addition or subtraction of the constant, just like before. It's just that now it's a decimal and not a whole number. But it doesn't change the procedure. I still bring down 3.5x, and I get 10.5. Okay? If this was 3x, I would divide both sides by 3. Being a decimal doesn't change anything. I'll just divide both sides by 3.5. 10.5 divided by 3.5 ends up being 3. Now, I did not do those in my head. I put those into the calculator the first time I did this. It's just by the time I'm making this video, I've answered these a few times, so I know what they come out as. Okay, moving over to the second problem in the notes. Again, I encourage you to draw that line through the equal sign to help signify both sides. I am looking at this question, and here again, just a basic two-step. Now, I'm going to stress lining up the decimals. Well, Miss Andrews 12 doesn't have a decimal. Yes, it does. It's just invisible right there. And if you wanted to make even place values, you could put a 0 there. But you don't have to. This cancels, and 5.6x comes down. And 12 plus 16.7 is 28.7. Then divide both sides by 5.6. The calculator says 5.125. And I don't think it's worth rounding on the homework assignment for 3 decimal places. Okay, it takes more effort to round probably than it would to just write out the whole display. Okay, if it was more decimal places than that, I might consider it. Okay, in our last example, we have parentheses. Okay, so we have to remember that there's going to be an extra step before our basic two-step. We're going to have to distribute. 4.5 times x is 4.5x. Bring your minus sign down. And then 4.5 times 3, I already drew that, is 13.5. Again, I'm stressing I did not do that in my head. If it looks like I'm doing this fast, it's because I've already done this problem a couple times today. You would be taking the time to type this into the calculator. 31.5. And now it's a basic two-step. Lining up your decimals. Divide both sides by 4.5. And x is 10. So on the homework tonight, just make sure you're being careful. Look for what kind of problem it is. Is it a two-step? Is it a one-step? Is it a variables on both sides? Is it combined like terms? Look for what kind of problem it is. And don't solve it any differently than you would if it was a whole numbers problem that we did last week. Fractions. We got a couple different strategies that we can use. I'm going to go over fraction operations, but not by hand. Okay? When I say fraction operations, I mean you're going to use fractions on the calculator. Okay? So if this was 2x equals 20, I'm going to just make up a problem like this. Okay, so just ignore this for a second. I would take this problem and divide both sides by 2. Well, just because it's a fraction doesn't mean I necessarily have to do anything differently. Especially if you're going to do fractions on the calculator. If you were going to do this by hand, I might tell you to do this differently. But since if you're going to do this on the calculator, I'm going to keep it the same. I'm going to do a divide on both sides and 2/5 on both sides. Okay, these cancel. Now what you type into the calculator is 20, the divide key, the 2 key, and then there's a button that's a capital A and then B over C. And I just call that the ABC button. What that does is tell the calculator that you're going to make a fraction. Tells the calculator you are going to make a fraction. And that 2 is the numerator, and then the next number you teach is that you type is the denominator. And then the equal key. And if you've typed it in correctly, you will get 50. Now if you have a different calculator than the one that we have in class and you know how to do fractions on it, great. If you don't, if you have a calculator that does fractions, I'm going to give you option 2 in a few minutes for how to solve these in a different way. Okay, it's not necessarily less work. It's not easier, but it'll get the homework done. Okay. All right, in our next problem, if this was just x plus 3 equals 7, then I would subtract 3 both sides. Okay, but it's x plus 3/4. So I'm going to subtract 3/4 both sides. And like I said, in a perfect world, you would know how to do fractions. But I want to meet everybody and teach this lesson to where you are. And we're going to use our technology to our advantage. So the 3/4 on this side cancel, and x comes down. 7/8 take away 3/4. Again, you're going to type 7, the ABC button, 8, minus 3, ABC, 4, and enter. And the calculator will spit out 1/8. The last problem. This is a basic two-step. If this were 5x plus 2 equals 7, I'd start off by subtracting 2 each side. Well, same thing, except I'm subtracting 2/3. So 5/6 comes down with the x. And 7/3 take away 2/3. Now, I will say, if you type it into the calculator, you'll get, it says 1 2/3. And that's fine. However, mixed numbers are pretty useful for anything except like recipes. So 7/3 take away 2/3 is 5/3. But if you want, not every problem is going to come out that way. If your calculator says, let me go to a blank screen for a second, 1 2/3, and you want to know what that is as an improper fraction, because improper fractions are more useful for us, you type 1, you have that on your screen, that's already on there. Okay, let me erase this. This should be, the 1 2/3 would already be on your screen. And then above the ABC button, okay, so here's your A, B over C button. There's something that looks like the ABC again, and then arrow, arrow, D over E. So you have to type second and then hit this button, and what this does is make your improper fraction for you. Or it takes an improper fraction and makes it into a mixed number for you. Okay, whichever way you want to go. Whatever you have, it'll give you the other one. Okay. If you remember how to do it by hand, it's 3 times 1 is 3 plus 2 is 5, and keep the denominator. Okay. And we would finish this problem out by dividing both sides. And I would recommend that you make your division bars look bolder and longer than your fraction bars so that they look different to you. 5 ABC 3, divide key, 5 ABC 6, and you should get 2. Okay? All right, Mrs. Andrews, what do? I don't have a calculator that does fractions. How do I do this homework assignment? Well, I'm going to give you another option. And this is an option that you can use on a basic 4-function calculator that you can get at the dollar store. Okay? You change your fractions into decimals. Okay? So if I was doing 2/5 x equals 20, I would take this fraction out and I'd change it to a decimal. How do you do that? You type 2 divided by 5. 2 divided by 5, your calculator will tell you is 0.4. Bring down the x and the 20 and the equal sign. Okay. And now I can just divide both sides by 0.4. X will still be 50. Okay, in the next problem, I'll keep the x, keep the plus sign, keep the equals, but I'm going to take the fractions out. I'm going to type 3 divided by 4, although 3/4 should be a common one, you know. 3/4, 3/4, if I have 3/4, I have 75 cents. 7/8, I will type 7 divided by 8 and get 0.875. Okay, then I'm going to solve. Subtract 0.75. Now be careful. Remember, lining up the decimals. The 7 should go underneath the 8. The 5 should go underneath the 7. And you can put an imaginary 0 underneath the 5. Subtract and you get x equals 0.125. Here's where things get a little trickier. Okay, 5/6, if you type it into the calculator, 5 divided by 6 comes out 0.833333333. So I use a repeater bar. However, when I'm solving and I'm using my calculator to solve, I can't just type 0.83. I have to fill the screen with 3's to represent the 3's repeating. Plus, here again, 2/3, 2 divided by 3 is 0.666666666. That's 0.6 repeating. So when I type things in, I need to type them in, filling the screen with 6's. 7/3 would be 2.3 repeating. So when I type that in, I'm going to have to, let's see, subtract 0.6 repeating, subtract 0.6 repeating, both sides. I would have to type in, and I'll show this to you on the TI calculator just so you have a visual. Okay? Pay attention to this area right here. I would have to type in 2.333333333, as many as I can to fill the screen. There's some lag on this. Sorry. This may be a bad idea. Okay. Minus bunch of 6's. Okay. Again, this calculator rounded. This would be 0.83 repeating x equals 1.6 repeating. The 7 you saw on the screen is not really there. It's where the calculator rounded when it decided it didn't want to display any more place values. So then I'd have to divide both sides by 0.83 repeating. So if I'm typing that in, you can leave the 1.6 repeating on your screen and then just click the divide, and this is true on the other calculator as well. And type in divide 0.8, a bunch of 3's. I'm not going to type in so many this time. Or at least I don't think I am. There we go. And I get x equals 2. So it's not easier to do the decimals, but it is an option if fractions are not possible for you. For homework, okay, I'm going to blow this up and then go across slowly. Homework answers. I'm going to go slowly. You see the ones that say or right here? That means that if you did this in a fraction way, you can answer in the fraction way. If you converted everything to decimals, then you have decimal answer. Either one is acceptable. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now you have to do all the problems and you have to show your work, but I'm at least giving you the first 8 answers to help you judge yourself on how well you're doing. All right. Have a great day. See you next time.